Okay. So I'm back, everybody, with a part two of the review on couples therapy, the episodes, I think 10 through 18 or 11 through 18, with the new set of couples. I talked about Nick and Catherine and Rod and Allison in the last video. This video, I'm going to be talking more about Boris and Jessica and Kyle and Mondo. So I will start with Boris and Jessica. I'll give an overview again. So I'm just going to be reading from my notes really quickly. So again, Boris and Jessica have been together for 8 years. I think either Boris is unemployed or is struggling with his career, and Jessica is a psychotherapist, and they've had a lot of challenges around relocating and career decisions. So I think at one point, Boris may have had a job that was doing well, but then Jessica's career was suffering. I think they're in Miami, and like no one wants to go to therapy in Miami. And they relocated. Jessica now has a better job. And I guess they're doing well, but now Boris does not feel like home is home, and he feels kind of like suffocated at home. It doesn't feel to be connect like it doesn't feel good to him. So just by watching them two, um, they they have a very interesting dynamic because some of the issues that they're coming in with are not like crazy abnormal issues, but it's just not connecting. Like something is just completely, we're like missing a huge piece of the puzzle as to why it's so bad for him. So I think partially part of what is coming up in this relationship is that Boris is severely depressed. Um, and he is like not living enough. Like he has taken so much time in these like such, in these serious roles. So that's kind of like the in conclusion. So I'll start off with how they came in. So he was really originally saying, he doesn't feel like home is home and he wants to move. He doesn't want to live in this house. He's kind of blaming like the external environment. And Jessica's kind of saying, what can I do? I'm listening to him. I also wanted him to take into consideration, like before we were living somewhere and I wasn't doing well in my career, and I know what it feels like to not be excited or getting enough work or thriving in your career due to a location. And so she talks about how like she had to suffer before, and now that she's kind of in the position of taking care of family financially, and her career is thriving where they are, she's kind of saying, I understand what it's like to be in this position, and I also understand what it's like to be in your position, and like wanting more, but it's not there yet, or I feel like it's not coming. So she's trying to be empathetic towards him. She's trying to be understanding towards him. And he keeps saying, it's not enough. It's not doing enough. You don't see me enough. You're not supportive enough. And she just gets very frustrated, like she can't do anything right. They kind of use all these like distracting things, like she can't pick out the right tomatoes or something that has like nothing to do with the actual problem. Um, so they kind of go around, they kind of tiptoe around the main issue, which I think is nothing really is going to be enough because Boris is depressed and he has to kind of work through that depression. It's going to take more on his part to work through it, and it's not much that she can do to help him get undepressed, besides support him the way that she's been doing, or like trying other things. But ultimately he has to be the one to do the work so that way um he's not just stuck in depression. And yeah, so by the end of it, they end up quitting, but then they come back and they go on this date for her birthday. They spend time dancing. She ends up like validating the fact that he has always had to be in a position of responsibility and had to grow up very quickly. Um, and he has had to, he really didn't get to have a childhood the way that other ch- other children get to have a childhood. And so now he's this adult, he has children, he has a wife, he has responsibilities, and she sees that and she validates his experience of how tough that is of not being able to have had a period of rest where he didn't have all these responsibilities. And so he said that, that feels good and that's nice. And they went dancing and um, they came back and they're fine. And at the end, the therapist is just like, in her circle, she's like, is that going to be enough? Like, are they cured? Is everything okay now? Because they went dancing on this date. And my theory is that the dancing on the date is the shock for him. Like when you are severely depressed, even the things that used to bring you joy don't bring you joy anymore. The things that feel like home don't feel like home anymore. The things that uplift you don't uplift you the same way anymore. And so I think it took something extreme. Like he put together this entire date. He was dedicated to accomplishing a goal. So he's putting forth effort towards this goal, which is dopamine when you actually get to achieve the goal and see the end results of it. And so I think that could have been a jolt to his system of we have to come out of depression and this is a thing that is enough to make me feel better. It's big, it's planned out. I put effort into it. I accomplished it. Um I can actually feel this feeling good. So we are good. I think that is the start for him. I'm kind of on the same team as some of the other therapists of like they're not cured, but I think it is a start for him to actually step out of some of that depression that he is experiencing from what it seems like on the show. Um, he needs more joy. And so the kind of end conversation was um, do they actually play with the inner child? Do they actually spend time together just having fun, letting go of their serious roles? She's a therapist, that's a serious job. He's a father and he's had to be such a um he's had to be an adult for so long, like longer than most because he started in childhood, right? So they have these very serious roles that have been reinforced and are part of their identities that they have forgotten about their inner children. And so I love that this couple in particular highlights how important it is to actually create balance when it comes to how serious you're taking life and how much you do actually need play and joy and fun. Fun is healing. Fun is radical healing, actually. Um, there is no escaping hard things, and there is no getting through difficult things without a level of joy and happiness in play, right? I want you to think about the most healing things that we had before we had all the other things that we have and all the other options that we have now. People danced, people told stories, people told jokes, people put together plays, people painted and sang. Like people were expressive and had fun. They came up with games. Um, they learned a new skill. They start cooking their favorite meals. They start doing all these things that are joyous and fun to them. And when you lose that element of fun and play, life just becomes like, who wants to do this? Especially if you're in a relationship that is already hard, especially if you have roles that are extremely difficult and challenging and um, extremely serious. You need something to balance all that seriousness out. You need some fun, you need some play, you need some joy. And I think their issue was that they were not doing that enough. Um, they were taking life too seriously. And unfortunately, that caused them a lot of pain and suffering because they weren't doing it together. And I don't think they were doing it alone either. So that was kind of the end conclusion for them. Um, a lot of times, couples therapy is just doing the fun things. There's a part of Gottman's couples therapy where you go over your love maps, which is how well do you connect as friends? Do you know each other's world? Do you know your partner as a friend? Do you enjoy spending time with them, running errands or watching TV or whatever? Like, do you know their favorite color? Things like that. The love maps section is really important because that's kind of the foundation of the Gottman theory of if you do you even have a friendship? Do you even like each other as friends to like stay up to date with each other's worlds, and do you enjoy a friendly connection with each other? And couples who do not have fun together often are not having a good friendship. They may be good partners, like teammates, partners, but we know friendship. We know the difference between having a teammate and having a friend that you can hang out with and that you can enjoy little things with or big things, but we know the difference. And if you don't have that level of friendship, it gets really difficult to move through life things together, big life things like career changes, having children, someone dying, right? Those are big life things that couples have to go through because they are inevitable most times. And to get through some of those things, you need to have a little fun and like laugh it off and go and balance it out with playing ping pong or going to the arcade or going on a roller coaster or like it doesn't even matter what type of fun you like to have as long as you actually do it. So yeah, that's them. That's Boris and Jessica, I believe, who have been together for 8 years. Now we're gonna get to Kyle and Mondo. So Kyle and Mondo are actually a very interesting couple. They're a very interesting couple because Kyle and Mondo, um, they're like the perfect match, so to speak, when it comes to like it makes sense. It makes sense that they ended up together because their roles mesh very well. Like they kind of balance each other out, so to speak. So Kyle and Mondo have been together 6 years. I believe it is Kyle that has a hearing impairment. He is deaf and he grew up learning how to read people's lips. And, that was just something that he always struggled with because he was kind of isolated because he could not actually understand people and people could understand him. And so he grew up having to learn and adjust and also feeling kind of alone and isolated, maybe even stuck. Like he's stuck in this world where people don't understand him and he has no freedom. Um, and then you have Mondo, who grew up as a child with Hispanic parents, a Hispanic child with Spanish speaking parents who he had to translate for. He also grew up as a gay boy who had to hide his sexual identity from his parents, who didn't even speak, the same language as him. So he kind of had to conceal his identity. He had a lot of trauma around them not accepting him and trying any and everything to get him to be straight and to identify as straight. Um, he took care of his family because they didn't speak English. And so he had to play the adult in the family system because his parents could not continuously play that role. So he had to play that role. And so he meets Kyle, who needs him in a way, right? He if Kyle is deaf, he cannot always pick up on conversations. He can't always pick up on cues. Like he still needs a partner who is going to catch him up to speed or just protect him in a way, and take care of him in a way. Mondo is used to playing that caregiver, that protective role, um, and having some level of control over the situation. So they come in and they are talking about non-monogamy or monogamy. So Mondo wants monogamy. He wants to feel safe in relationships. They later get to why he wants that level of safety, why that is so important to him due to a previous domestic violence relationship. And he wants that safety and protection from his partner to make sure that no one else would come into the relationship and potentially put it at risk. That's kind of what I gathered too. And then Kyle, on the other hand, he grew up isolated. He grew up not really having freedom. He also didn't grow up around the community that is also deaf. And so in this non-monogamy, he is interacting with other deaf men. Um, he has the freedom to not only explore this community and be a part of it, but he gets to actually engage sexually in it, which is an experience, I'm sure, alone. Um, so he gets to basically have freedom to do whatever he wants to do within this community that he was already a part of based on his identity. And so that's kind of his reasoning. He wants to have freedom, the freedom that he never got to have as a kid. And so they both have these interesting stories that they're bringing into this relationship, and reasons as to why they want what they want. By the end, they eventually kind of swap positions. Like Kyle takes some of Mondo's jealousy and fear of losing control and um, kind of letting things be at risk, the risk of the unknown. And then Mondo takes some of Kyle's freedom and the experience of freedom and the experience of kind of just letting go and letting things be. And so they kind of swap, and they're in each other's shoes, so to speak. And it becomes more balanced throughout the sessions. And at the end, they get married. So, spoiler alert, this is all spoiler alerts. But at the end, they get married. I believe they go ahead and have the open relationship. But their story is so nice to see it play out because they're coming in to better understand each other. There isn't too much drama in there. They're really coming in. It was almost like premarital counseling. Like they're coming in to better understand each other and to better understand the decision that they're making before they get married. that's kind of the vibe that I got from them of, okay, we want to be together, but how do we kind of solidify this before we get married? I don't know if that was the intention, but that's kind of how the story played out to me. Of it could have been premarital counseling, and they learned enough about each other to go ahead and take that step. So theirs was nice. So this is the end of the video. I don't really have any other things to say about them besides, if you're interested in open relationships, non-monogamy, polyamory, um, I have a few book recommendations because I know that's something that's big right now and has been for the past few years, is people kind of questioning open relationships. So I will start with recommending The Ethical Slut. This can be for men or women, but The Ethical Slut just talks about boundaries, um, a lot of things. It's a very interesting read. And then I will recommend the famous Polysecure. So if you're interested in polyamory and attachment styles and non-monogamy, this is kind of like the poly Bible, so to speak. Like, everyone who is interested in polyamory reads this first. Then if you are looking for a deeper dive, you can do Polywise. The author in this book actually says that she should have wrote this book first. And it's a very deeper dive into polyamory and what non-monogamous relationships could look like and what you should consider before starting one. And then she recently came out with the workbook. So there's also a workbook. And then this is my last book recommendation for people who are in open relationships and they're in them because they have a partner who is kind of kiki or wants to explore sexuality, but maybe is vanilla. So this is with sprinkles on top. It is everything vanilla people and their kinky partners need to know, communicate, and connect and explore. So this is basically just going over very basic but informative information about kink and sex, and just like what is pressure, what is all types of things. So I also like that they have this gender, sexuality, and relationship diversity carousel, which is pretty cool. It breaks down kind of your sexual identity into a carousel. So what's your sex? What's your gender? What's your gender expression? What is your power expression? So are you a dominant? Are you someone who is submissive? Do you switch? What is your sensory expression? Do you have a fetish? Sometimes, always, never. Do you want to be monogamous, open, polyamorous, celibate? What is your romantic orientation? What is your sexual orientation? Are you asexual? Do you not really want to have sex? Are you heterosexual? Are you pan or bisexual? Are you homosexual? Are you heteroflexible? Like, what is it? So it gives you kind of like a basic to sex, kink, and exploring that. I think some people just need the basics sometimes. So those are my few book recommendations, and I am going to keep watching. I might do some more videos and go back to some of the previous episodes of Couples Therapy because I really like watching it, and I've seen them all, but I haven't done many reviews. So I might just go backwards and do more reviews. If you want that, just comment, let me know that you want to see more reviews or you want to see me talk about a specific couple, and I will do that too. So let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you have any other book recommendations, or if you read any of the book recommendations that I just gave out and what you think about them. All right, bye, you guys.